Let's continue our journey through the world of rock by revisiting groups that left valuable contributions, but don't receive the recognition they deserve. 15 incredible rock bands that are underrated. Part 3. Mountain. Formed in the late 60s by Leslie West, Felix Pappalardi, Corky Lang, and Steve Knight, Mountain helped shape heavy, hard rock with a strong blues foundation. Although mostly remembered for Mississippi Queen, their importance goes far beyond a single hit.
Mississippi Queen, if you know.
The power of their sound directly influenced the development of hard rock and heavy metal, making the band an often underrated reference. James Gang. Originating from Ohio, the James Gang rose to prominence with the presence of Joe Walsh on guitar and vocals. Blending hard rock, blues, and psychedelia, they developed a distinctive style that influenced many subsequent bands. While they never achieved the same level of fame as other groups of the era, their contribution to 70s rock and the quality of their songwriting guarantee them a special place among connoisseurs.
Seems to me you don't want to talk about
MC5.
city burning, baby.
Born in Detroit in the mid-60s, MC5 combined garage rock, proto-punk, and strong political engagement into explosive live performances. Despite a relatively short career and limited commercial success, they became one of the biggest influences on punk and alternative rock. Their legacy can be heard in bands ranging from The Clash to Rage Against the Machine.
Gets in your brain, drive you insane. They've been friendly, baby.
Slade. Hailing from Wolverhampton, Slade was one of the biggest names in 70s glam rock, thanks to the infectious energy, catchy choruses, and stage charisma led by Noddy Holder. Although they racked up countless hits in the UK, they never achieved the same status internationally as some of their contemporaries. Even so, they exerted a strong influence on hard rock and metal bands in the following decades. Savoy Brown. Created in London in the mid-60s and led by guitarist Kim Simmons, Savoy Brown was one of the pillars of British blues rock. Their raw, jam-heavy sound helped define the genre, but the band is rarely cited alongside more famous contemporaries. Their long trajectory and historical importance justify much greater recognition than they usually receive.
I get so tired with
10 years after. Formed in the 60s and led by virtuoso Alvin Lee, 10 years after gained worldwide prominence after their landmark performance at Woodstock. Blending blues, jazz, and rock with great technical skill, the band played an important role in the evolution of British blues rock. Despite this, their reputation ended up overly tied to Lee's individual talent, overshadowing the recognition of the group as a whole. Three Dog Night. Formed in Los Angeles in the late 60s, Three Dog Night stood out for the vocal harmonies of Danny Hutton, Corey Wells, and Chuck Negron.
King of the world, tell you what they tell me I was born there.
They moved effortlessly between pop rock, soul, and R&B, accumulating numerous chart hits. Despite this impressive track record, they rarely received the same spotlight given to other groups of the era, notwithstanding their relevance to American popular music.
Coming down, hold up, sweet love,
Be sure to watch the other videos on this list and check out incredible bands that left an important mark on rock history, but for some reason are not properly appreciated. Click on the card appearing at the top of your screen. Captain Beyond. Created in the early 70s by musicians connected to bands like Deep Purple and Iron Butterfly, Captain Beyond developed a bold blend of hard rock, psychedelia, and progressive rock. Despite their creativity and instrumental quality, the group never achieved major commercial success. Over the years, they became a cult band for fans and musicians who view their work as one of the hidden gems of classic rock.
I could go with them, brother, but of all things, yes, you know I don't lie.
Blue Öyster Cult. Born in New York in the late 60s, Blue Öyster Cult combined hard rock, psychedelia, and dark themes into a sound that anticipated elements of heavy metal. Despite being remembered primarily for classics like Don't Fear the Reaper, their discography is much richer and more creative. The influence they exerted on metal and alternative rock makes the band a name that deserves much greater recognition. Marillion. Formed in the UK in the late 70s, Marillion became one of the leading names in neo-progressive rock, first with Fish and later with Steve Hogarth on vocals. Combining emotional melodies and an atmospheric sound, the band was frequently compared to Genesis in their early years, which ultimately overshadowed their own identity. Still, their consistent discography and loyal fan base make them one of the most important lineups in modern progressive rock.
Drink coin for the fountain, or to cover your eyes, you Is it too late to say I'm sorry?
Little Feat. Founded in Los Angeles in 1969 by Lowell George and other talented musicians, Little Feat created a unique fusion of rock, blues, funk, country, and jazz.
Sometimes on this Texas rain.
Respected for their musical excellence and praised by admirers like Frank Zappa and Jimmy Page, they never achieved mainstream popularity with the general public. Still, they remain one of the most original and cult-followed bands in rock history. Wire. Emerging in London in the late 70s, Wire started out in punk, but quickly expanded their sound into post-punk and experimentation. Led by Colin Newman, they stood out for their minimalism and innovation, influencing groups like R.E.M. and Sonic Youth. Despite their massive artistic relevance and lasting impact on alternative rock, they never achieved the commercial recognition proportional to their importance.
I really like you because I'm a son.
Crystal palaces, the floral kings.
Mudhoney. Formed in Seattle in 1988, Mudhoney was one of the foundational groups in building the grunge scene. With a raw, distorted sound heavily influenced by punk and garage rock, they helped pave the way for the success of the city's more mainstream bands.
Fell asleep on the riverbank one sunny afternoon. Oh, the neighborhood dog.
While they never achieved the fame of Nirvana or Pearl Jam, their historical importance to the movement is undeniable.
Mama found a train bomber. The toilet
Cinderella. Hailing from Philadelphia in the 80s, Cinderella stood out in the hard rock and glam metal scene thanks to Tom Kiefer's signature vocals and strong blues influences.
I count the falling tears. They fall before me. Put your money in a big house.
Despite the success achieved during the hair metal era, they are often overshadowed by more popular bands of the genre. Their distinct musicality, however, makes them one of the most interesting groups of that period.
Somebody get the doctor. Ain't no gonna cry. Turn on the TV to the same old news. Everybody
Exodus.
I'm running 'cause you know that I'm coming.
Founded in California in 1979, Exodus was one of the pioneers of thrash metal, with Gary Holt and Tom Hunting as central figures, and even featuring Kirk Hammett in their initial lineup. With aggressive riffs and intense speed, they helped set the standards for the genre. Although they didn't achieve the same commercial success as Metallica, Slayer, or Megadeth, they remain one of the most respected bands in extreme metal. These bands were fundamental to shaping rock as we know it today, even without receiving the attention they deserved. This video is a celebration of the legacy they left behind, recognizing their influence and the quality of the music they gave us. Tell us in the comments, which bands do you want to see in part 4? Help our channel grow. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. Thanks for watching. Until the next musical journey.